Hi, this is Sharon with At Your Service Dog Training, and I'm going to show you some helpful skills for training a service dog to work next to a wheelchair in narrow spaces, such as a doorway. It can also work for other narrow spaces, like if you have a kitchen island that you're trying to maneuver around or things like that. So the skills are to train the dog to wait, which just means not to move forward. And then to train the dog to go ahead of you. You can also, it's really helpful to train the dog to back up and to follow your wheelchair. And I can show you those in another video at another time. So I'm going to be demonstrating with Maisie, who's a 3-year-old German Shepherd, who's a service dog in training for a client, and she is here doing a board and train with me. Maisie, touch. She's just started learning some of these skills. Find it. So you're going to start with your dog in heel position, whatever that is for them. Maisie works on the left. Touch. With me. So you start with them on your left. And then when you get to your doorway, I've created a sort of doorway-like space here. I've got a dog crate on one side and I have a chair on the other. Find it. You're going to sort of partly block the space so that your dog doesn't try to squeeze through, because that's often what happens when you've trained a dog to walk next to your wheelchair. You get to a space that's too narrow for them and they try to squeeze through, and you worry about rolling over their toes or getting the leash tangled or whatever. So first you're just going to teach the cue. The cue in this case that I use is wait. You can use whatever you like. Wait, and then I click and treat. Wait just means don't move forward. So the dog can move back, or the dog can stay where they are. She's gone off to see what one of my other dogs is doing. But as long as they're not moving forward, they get their click and their treat. So I'll show you the beginning training of that. Maisie, wait. I'm clicking for stillness or for backward movement, and then I treat. Wait. Often I recommend tossing the treat behind you for this, so it does teach them not to move forward, because the good stuff is going to happen a little further back. Wait, click, and then treat. Once they're good at that and they're not moving forward at all, then you can start to add a little bit of forward momentum. So if you're using a power chair, you can just say wait, move the joystick, click, or say yes if they don't move forward at all. If you're using a manual chair, you can say wait, move your hands very slightly on the wheels, so you just move forward like ½ an inch. Wait. Over time, they get to understand it, and then you can start to move forward a little bit. So when they're good at it, Maisie, wait. Then you move forward, you click, and you toss the treat behind you. That's really important once you start moving, so they learn to stay back. Wait. Click. And toss behind. If you have the ability, if your arm does this, it's really a great idea to hold the treat right on the back of your power chair or your wheelchair, because then they start to learn that they can follow you through a narrow space, so they sort of follow the treat that way. So that would look like this. Maisie, wait. I go through, I'm gonna click, good girl, and then I'm gonna hold the treat behind my back as I go forward. So she's moving forward with me a little bit. It's really helpful also to train it back up, which I do in a different video. She's still learning that. And here I'll show you an excuse me, which is to teach a dog to move out of the way. Excuse me, you just say excuse me, and then you toss the treat off to the side. So that's the wait. The other one that's really helpful that she's just starting to learn is a go through, which means go through the space and wait for me on the other side. Touch. So to train that, once the dog is good at the wait and they've learned to not just go through the doorway, willy-nilly, then you can start to teach them what the cue is called to go through the doorway. So you get to your doorway, or what you have that's like a doorway. And for this, I start out with a treat lure. So I say, go through, and then I make a gesture pointing my finger and toss the treat. So it looks like this. Go through, and then I toss the treat, and you can tell them to find it. When they get to the other side of the doorway, you click and you toss them another treat. So the tossing of the treats helps keep them there so they're not coming back to you to get the treat. So I'll show you that again. Touch. Good girl. So I'm gonna get to my doorway. Wait. I'm gonna click and treat her for stopping or pausing. And then if I want her to do the go through, toss the treat. You can do it with one hand or both by now. Wait, she's been doing a few. I do. So, touch. Eventually, once they've started to learn the go through, you don't have to treat anymore. You can just say go through, and they just, and we've been working on that, so she's just starting to get that. And then you toss the treat on the other side. Often what I'll do is train the dog to sit on the other side too, so I do a go through. After they go through, good girl, then I ask them to sit. It's really important that you don't train the sit like so that they're right in the doorway, because then you won't have room to go through. So I toss the treat pretty far, and then I train a distance sit so they're sitting at a little bit of a distance to give me time to go through. So I hope that's helpful. Feel free to get in touch if you have questions. Happy training.